I don't know enough about the plan to even talk about it. And let me just talk on that for a minute. It's 800 pages. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's that big. And anyone who says they know it, they haven't read the whole thing, because we haven't even had enough time to read it all. I know there's a lot of handouts. There's a lot of handouts for business to help them stay in business. There's forgivable loans for people that, for businesses that will keep employees. And I'm all in favor of helping businesses that need it, but this is an opportunity where people who don't need the money are going to be going to the trough to get their share of it. I don't even, my mind can't even get into that pool. So I look at it this way. Do I need it? No. Can I use it? Sure. But it's not worth my time to even pay attention to it. I'm focused on taking care of the people that I'm in business with and the people we serve, and that's it. Because I know if I just stay on that track, I don't care what happens in the economy, we're going to make it.
I remember, Gary, you told me that a few years back when you said to me, Gianni, you said, I don't care what happens out there. I'll create my own economy. I make an economy where what happens out there doesn't even matter. And I think that's what like changed my mindset, is what can you control? Focus on what you control and not what you can't control. And this coronavirus issue is a perfect example of that. Everyone who's prepared for this moment has prepared with technology, has adapted to the market, has foreseen any market shift. Unfortunately, it's happened so fast, for other people that weren't prepared for it. But the ones that were prepared, the ones that had good websites, the one had good process, good operations, in all businesses now, I'm talking generally, are the ones who are going to innovate and survive and adapt. The ones who haven't, they're closing down. I'm seeing it in my local market as well.
Yeah, this is not exclusive to the real estate business. And I think, what's really become very evident to me in the past couple of weeks is understanding the true dividing line between a real estate investor and a real estate business owner. They're two different people. And most people in our business cloud those two different roles. And if you don't have a true division on them, it will be a recipe for disaster. And here's what I'm talking about. So let's go back to that sandwich shop. If I'm an investor in that sandwich shop, my focus is purely on bottom line, financial stability of the business, return on investment. However, if I'm the business owner or operator, my focus is on customer satisfaction, leverage the employees, sourcing materials. It's the operation of the business, but those are two distinct and different roles. And just like the person who's making the sandwich, their obligation and their focus needs to be delivering that sandwich as best as possible inside the systems that they've been trained in for the customer, not worried about delivery of the raw materials and everything else that goes in. That's what the business owners. But see, what happens is we get into this, and the barrier for entry into this arena is so low that the merging of all the roles gets confused and never gets clarified. So there's no clear direction on what am I doing and why am I doing it. There's no clarity. And
let's create some clarification for people that maybe, they're not into the terms. How would you describe the investor role, and how would you describe the business owner role or mentality?
Okay, so the investor in my opinion, the investor, their job is purely to focus on the numbers and holding an operator responsible for carrying out the duties. They're not involved in the day-to-day operation. They're involved in very little decision-making process. And in our world, it's, I'm an investor. Nir, I'm bringing you $100,000. My expectation is a minimum return on investment of X. Anything above that, how can I help you run your business to get more? But you're making decisions. I'm not questioning your decisions because you have presented me with an outline of what the business model looks like. I agree with it. I see the profit potential, and I'm purely an investor. Now let's move to you. You're the business owner. Your obligation is twofold. You have to deliver value to the end user, thereby delivering the return on investment to the investor. Okay? So you're the middleman. Then we bring into our industry what I call a hobbyist. Well, I'm going to dip my toe in the water. I'm going to try it, and let's see how it goes. Well, very few people go from hobbyist to CEO successfully. It's a very, very, very small percentage. And when I say a small percentage, I'm saying a fraction of 1% can go from hobbyist to a full-blown operation of an investor that's hands-off and purely pulling return on investment. That percentage is unbelievably small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my mind, there is some kind of, the difference in between right and good. Because, for example, you can buy a property in market A and you can buy a property in market B. The question in which market to buy is not a question of good or bad. It's a question of right and wrong. It's subjective, It depends on understanding yourself, your targets, risk, etc. On the other side,
strategy.
Yeah, on the other side, in terms of, business owner or operations, the process in which you operate the deal it can be good or bad. If you're doing it in a best practice in market A and B, you can do both of them good. But it doesn't mean that each of them or both of them or any of them are right for you. So when I think about, some kind of distinction in between, let's say, the investor role and the business owner role is, it's not a black and white segregation, but I would say that for sure the questions about good or bad, meaning how to do the things, are in the role of the business owner. And on the eye level, at least knowing where to direct the investment, because there is also subjective consideration into it. What are your other investments? What is your investment strategy? What are your targets for your life? It's subjective. So this is why this is a role of the investor to start with. And there is, maybe in the micro level of right and wrong, which market it's in between some kind of a subject for conversation in between CEO and the director. There is the area where we end the stick if it's some kind of a race, one race to another. It's not totally separated. So at least in my mind is as such. And maybe I'll go back to you, Gary, with the question that I get from investors, not directly, but feeling I can be the CEO and I can be the director. What's the problem? Why not?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can be the cook, the waitress, the hostess, the busboy, the bartender, the cocktail. I mean, you can be it all, sure. But you're going to get very tired. You will grow to hate it. You're not going to deliver great value to your customers. You're not going to, there's no capacity for growth. It's a recipe for failure. And again, the challenge, the reason few people succeed at a high level in this business or at a level where they're comfortable is because they cloud that. Instead of understanding the individual roles and having specific focuses and objectives for each. Because they're two distinct roles. And most people can't even get their brain capacity to even understand that. Because when we start talking about things like this, they shut down and divert back to, well, that's far away from where I want to get. Regardless of, I don't care if you own one house or 10 houses or 1,000 doors. It doesn't matter, because if you don't have those tracks in place, if you don't have the defined roles now, you will never release the responsibilities later to let them flourish. Okay. And a good example, there's plenty of examples at a very high level that anyone on the globe can look at. Steve Jobs is a very good example. Steve Jobs, his first go around at Apple, tried to be everything until the board of directors fired him because he kept sticking his nose where it didn't belong, and he left. Well, that was a bad move on the board of directors, but they didn't know how to control his personality to bring him in line. He went off and did Pixar and learned that he needed to define exactly what he's good at and let everybody else do what they're good at and stay out of the way. Well, that's what caused Apple to just explode, because he knew what he brought to the table at that point and let everybody else do what they do. Another example is we've got Warren Buffett. Warren's got a great model. They buy businesses. They don't go in and all of a sudden, Warren has never walked in and taken over the position of CEO in any of the businesses that they bought, ever. They buy the business and immediately hire someone to run it better than them, and all they do is provide support and resources to help them grow the business, because they ultimately gain. So it's a mindset thing. How do we change that? I don't know. I mean, I wish I had the answer, but if people get educated and understand coming into it why they're doing this business, and no better time in history is it evident how important housing is to human beings on this planet, and the opportunity that's available if you just understand your role, get out of the way, and enjoy the part of it that's best for you. And it may be the operator, or it may be the investor, but understanding that clear definition will result in more solitude, more comfort with yourself, and greater returns, and happier people around you. I mean, from the users to the people on your team, everybody will be happier because we all understand what we're supposed to do. And I know that was a long-winded answer, but hopefully it provided some light.
Good.
Is it safe to say, Gary, that the principles and values you're talking about in that long rant you just said, I found it in a book called The E-Myth, something that we've discussed a lot? Is this something that can help people watching this video to at least start that shift in mindset from the technician to the investor?
Yep. Great point, Johnny. Actually, two books. The E-Myth is a overall, it's actually called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, and it's a general business understanding, but more importantly, Michael Gerber and Than Merrill created a sub-book specifically for real estate investors. And that's the E-Myth for real estate investors. And it gets into very specific, breaking down the different roles. And to that point, there's three positions, and it's entrepreneur, manager, and technician. And a great resource. It helps clarify those roles. Yes.
Yeah.